And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome into O'Neill's Grill for our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon with JMU head football coach Everett Withers. I'm your host once again, Kurt Dudley. We'll talk this week about the Duke's loss to the Villanova Wildcats as they opened up Colonial Athletic Association play. 49-31 was the final. And, Coach, we're going to start a little bit on some of the high-octane offense the Dukes produced on Saturday. It was a game in which Vadley threw for a single-game JMU record. 406 yards, and that accounted for, a big chunk of that 568 yards of total offense. You told me going in you expected the Dukes to be able to exploit the offense a little bit of Villanova to get some big yardage out of it. But was that more than what you may have anticipated in the ballgame all in all?
Well, Kurt, I'll tell you this. We played a very, very tough opponent, a very good opponent on the road, and we felt like going into the game that they were going to try to stop our run, which obviously they wanted to do. We saw a lot of 8-, 9-man box configuration, so we knew we were going to have to throw the football some to be successful, and hopefully that would in turn give us the opportunity to run the ball. We weren't as successful as we wanted to be running the ball. We would like to be able to run it better than what we were able to do. A lot of that had to do because of the numbers in the box, and they were really trying to outnumber us, blitz the run more than the pass, and Vad did a nice job. Our offensive staff did a nice job of coming up with some things to help us in the pass game.
They definitely did challenge you to beat them with the pass. How much was the running game affected, however, by the lack? Well, first of all, John Miller. What happened to John Miller? He went out after just his second carry.
Yeah, John tweaked an ankle, a little bit different sprain than I've seen. A little bit more on the outside part of his ankle, so he was limited for us the rest of the game. We just felt like we didn't need to throw him back in the game. We were down. Jawan Latney has a toe sprain, so he was available, but again, didn't feel like we needed to throw him out there in the game. So we were limited in some numbers at the running back position, so we felt like Alden Hill did a nice job for us in there, and obviously Vad had to carry the load a little bit, and then we played Taylor Wood some at running back. Did
you see Villanova change anything when Miller goes out, knowing that your options were limited from the running back situation? Did they alter anything defensively, I should say?
Well, they put their best player on defense and spied Vad the entire game with their middle linebacker the entire game, whether it be run or pass. So they did do some things a little bit different than they had shown previously. But we felt like we needed to run the ball better than we did. We did not. We don't want to have to throw the ball for 400 yards every game. That's not in our DNA, but it was good to see when we had to throw it, we were able to at times. We weren't perfect throwing the ball. There are obviously 2 interceptions and then maybe 2 or 3 other bad reads. So we've got a lot of things to correct and a lot of things to fix in that aspect, but it was good to see us be able to throw the football. We've been able to run it. Now we've shown that we can throw it, and hopefully we can put the two together.
Well, just to remind folks, or for those that may not know, when Vad was playing high school football, his throwing numbers were pretty big. He threw for over 5,000 yards and rushed for close to 2,000. Yep. When you saw him and knew of him early, when you saw and knew of him early, what did you see in him at that time, and what do you see of him today?
Well, in high school, we saw a guy that, had a lot of talent, had the ability to run the football, get on the edge in the run game and the pass game. And we felt like, we saw him in camp. I got to watch him play live several times, so we knew he had a good arm. Anytime you go and you put yourself in an offense that is strictly a run offense for 2 years, which basically is what he's done, and then now you're back in an offense that actually wants you to read defenses in the pass game and run game. It takes some time, and he's growing each week and getting better. He's still making some mistakes, and he'll tell you that, but he's getting better each week.
Given the number of injuries that seem to have piled up here quickly on the Dukes, are you in search of bodies this week? Do you have an idea what you're going to do now in terms of moving personnel around?
Well, we are. We're in that mode right now where we've got to get some guys back healthy. Hopefully we get several guys back this week healthy. You know, again, and that's part of, this time of year, going into game 5, you start getting a little beat up. And when you have a young football team, also, there's some development on understanding the difference between injury and being hurt. And I think we're going through that a little bit with some of our young kids, is that, when you go into two-a-days, the first day of pads, after that first practice, you're never going to feel 100% again the rest of the year. And I think a young team is starting to have to learn that. We've got some young kids that we're trying to train and teach and mentor about the difference between being hurt and injured.
As a head coach, you certainly are keenly aware of everything in your program, but you mentioned in the post game, and it's come out about your focus now going, or not totally, but obviously putting a little more attention into the defensive side of the football. What are your plans in terms of that?
Well, and it's funny, my wife hit me this morning she actually did hit me this morning before I left the house, and she made the statement. She says, Larry Fedora said he was going to get involved in the North Carolina defense. Steve Spurrier said he was going to get involved in the kicking game at South Carolina. And you've said you're going to get involved in the defense. And she said you've hired really good defensive football coaches. Let them do their job, help them, let them do their job. I think the one thing that I wanted to do, and I've done a poor job of this as the head coach, I believe, Antoine Smith is coaching 5 guys. He's coaching the outside linebackers, the nose, and two ends. In two-a-days, I was coaching the Jack and the Sam, our outside linebackers. Now I'm doing press conferences and CAA conferences and doing all this stuff. I'm not coaching the Sam and Jack anymore. So how much are those guys losing coaching each week? So one of the things I want to do and do better is go coach those guys. Go help our defensive staff in those meetings, what these 2 positions that are very big positions on our team, probably 2 of the most important positions on our team, that did not play well Saturday. I have to do a better job of helping our guys with those 2 positions.
All right, we'll turn it over to other members of the media here at O'Neill's Grill for our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon with JMU head football coach Everett Withers.
Coach, I remember you saying after the Maryland game you were really impressed about how the team responded after that loss. How did your team respond yesterday after this week's loss?
Really, really good. Again, it's fun to be around our football team. We've got a young football team, and I've been really impressed how they bounced back. From our 2 o'clock meeting yesterday till we let them go around 6 o'clock yesterday. We were busy and we were going, and they were into it and excited. And I think our kids see growth. As coaches, we always look for small victories, and we see some each week on both sides of the football and in the kicking game. And again, when you're playing with a bunch of young guys, you have to look for small victories, and you have to look into what is good about your football program and where that football program is going.
Was it an even better response from the Maryland game?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think you take a team that's going on the road 3 out of 4 weeks. They're playing a top 10 FCS team, okay, and that team's had a bye week before you play them, and you play well in the first half. You don't play well in the second half, but you play well in the first half. You have to take that and say that's a small victory for a team trying to grow and develop.
You've been talking about the first 4 games of the season. Now that the first 4 games are over, where do you feel your team is at?
Well, here's what I think. I think we still have a lot of growth to do. One thing that's skewed it a little bit is the injuries. You'd like to have some of these guys playing so you can watch development. I sat down this morning for an hour with our athletic director and gave him a sheet of paper that had every guy on our team's name and our evaluation on them and where we feel like they fit for 2015. So that's kind of where we're going right now. I spent a lot of time last week working on the numbers, our recruiting numbers, our development of our young guys, and where some of our older guys fit in the plan. We made some moves. We made one move yesterday in practice. We moved a guy's position yesterday in practice. So, and that'll happen some this week and in weeks to come. So this is about a journey. Again, I'm going to go back to that word, journey. And the journey isn't, each week's a piece of that journey. It's not the entire journey. So I like where we are. 2-2. I would like to win every game, just so you guys know. I want to be 4-0 and #1 in America. But we're not right now. We're 2-2. Am I happy being 2-2? No, but I'm also a realistic coach that understands where this program is going in the future.
Coach, what's the biggest thing you need to fix with the defense? What's the biggest key to turn things around?
Well, I think one thing that we have to do better as a defensive staff, as a defensive team, is be more aggressive in the front seven and not I think sometimes we sit and catch and we look for somebody else to make a play instead of a guy going to be, attacking and going to play his technique, physical, and going to make a play. Some of that's, I think, a little bit of it's unsure of what they're doing sometimes. Not a lot of confidence in what they're doing, and a lot of that's youth. A lot of guys haven't played a lot of snaps. We were looking at the board yesterday, and you take Brandon Lee, you take Gage Steele, who hadn't played very much for us this year at all. Take Dean Marlowe, and you take Raven Green, who got hurt yesterday, and there's not many other guys that have played a whole lot of snaps. Alex Mosley played a little bit last year as a backup. Sage Harrell got hurt, I think, after game 3 last year, didn't play a whole lot. So you're looking at some guys that haven't played a whole lot, and then you take some young guys and you stick that in there. My expectations are always high on defense. I want to be the #1 defense in America, but we're not right now. So my job is to help fix that.
With your guys maybe not being as aggressive as you want, in what way can that be dangerous? And if you're a little slow on one thing, how can that hurt you guys not being aggressive?
Well, if you're not aggressive, you're not attacking your responsibility. And if you're not attacking your responsibility, then you're not making the plays you need to make.
Coach, in the situation with the passing game, as well as it did on Saturday, you've talked about wanting to see the receivers progress, get better separation, catch the ball in crowd. Did you see that more? Did you see a progression? Did you see your passing game and your offense and your receivers grow up a little bit on Saturday?
Well, we saw some of that on Saturday. Some of that was by play design that allowed our guys to get open because of the play design off of play action. We saw Ishmael Hyman make his first catch for a touchdown. He has some deep speed down the field. Sean Tapley has some deep speed down the field. You see Daniel Brown. Daniel Brown catches the ball. Doesn't have a whole lot of deep speed. Obviously, he gets caught on a chance, opportunity to score. But he does have good hands. We don't like for him to fumble the ball after he catches it, but he does have the ability to catch the football. I think our growth at receiver will continue. We've got some young guys that we have not played yet that still have opportunities to get on the field and play. We worked some of those guys yesterday in practice. I think we have to be more explosive at receiver. Vad threw the ball and connected with 8 different receivers in the game. So I think that's a plus that he feels comfortable throwing the ball around to 8 different guys.
When you're talking about outside linebackers, your familiarity with that position, I know you're secondary at Ohio State. How I guess, where is your expertise in the outside linebacker? Where do you get that experience from? Is that just an overall defensive thing that you're coming in with, or what?
Well, I've been a defensive coordinator for a lot of years, so I got a lot of experience at every position of defense. Right.
With that position specifically, you said it was very important to you guys.
Our first full-time job as a defensive coach was outside linebacker.
Okay. What is maybe lacked at that position with some of those guys? Any of those guys at outside linebacker?
I think they're very talented. I think we need to be a little bit more specific in technique and fundamentals.
Specifically at technique, can you go into that a little bit? What
No,
those guys aren't really doing?
You wouldn't know what that was, the techniques.
Can you test me?
No.
You said you moved a guy in practice. Who was that position?
You'll be at practice Tuesday, I think. I think you'll see it at practice.
Is it pretty obvious? Is it a starter?
I think you'll see it at practice on Tuesday.
Is it a starter that's been starting?
You'll see it at practice on Tuesday.
Okay.
Coach, we talked about in the previous weeks how the team had been struggling to get off to a fast start, and it seemed like they did get off to a pretty good start on Saturday. I guess what's the key to getting 2 and 2 together now?
Well, yeah, that's the thing we got to do. We got to try to get fast starts and finishing together. We went into the locker room feeling really good. I will take that back. We went in the locker room feeling good here's something that was concerning on my part, and I think it was concerning on our coaching staff's part. We didn't score 6 right before halftime, and we had the opportunity to do that off of the muff punt. And then we did not score 6 coming out on the drive in the second half. So as a football coach and an offense, we have to be able to go score points in those situations, and we did not. I think the big thing that we have to do is learn how to finish at the end of a half and start the second half and finish the second half.
Coach, talk a little about Dean Cheatham and his play the other day.
Well, Dean Cheatham has done a really nice job of fitting in this offense. He's not an ideal tight end in our offense. He's not our prototypical tight end in our offense. We'd like to have 6'4", 255 pounds. He can run 4'7", 4'6", to run down the middle of the field and can block 6 techniques. But he's done a nice job of doing what he does well in this offense. He catches the ball well. He's an aggressive player. He knows the system. He's really spent a lot of time on learning what his job description is. Having a career day for him is we expect him to have more days where he catches a bunch of passes because I think Vad feels comfortable throwing the ball to him.
Let's talk a little about about Delaware. What do you kind of know about them? What are you expecting?
Well, I know they'll be a well-coached team. I know Coach Brock's done a really good job of, again, I think this is his second year going into the pro, second or third year going into the program. He's done a really good job. He's a very good football coach. I know a little bit about him from his time at Rutgers, his time at North Carolina. He did a good job of recruiting and those stops. They have a very good offensive line. They have a really good tight end. I really like their tight end. The quarterback's a good player. They've got some skilled players. I think it's a little bit about us. They're a little bit of a 12 personnel, 11 personnel type offense. They're going to be a little bit more of a 4-3 type defense. I'm looking at what we have to get better on more than anything else. We've got our issues and we've got our concerns. So I spend most of my time trying to look at our personnel and what we're going to do each week to get better.
On paper, are they as balanced or on film, are they as balanced as they seem to be on paper? And how does that present your challenges with your defense?
Well, again, it's a matter of having success on early downs on defense. That's how you get teams skewed in their numbers. You have to be successful on early downs, and that'll be a challenge for our defense. They run the ball well out of 12 personnel, out of 11 personnel. They do a good job. So we'll have to stop the run early and stop the play action pass involved in that, and hopefully we can get them behind the chains on third down.
You've been talking about, obviously, the first 4 games. So now moving forward, do you look at it now game by game? Do you go another 4 games? Do you even bother telling us?
Yeah. I really look at the game by game now. Again, those first 4 games are kind of like, you take our season, you look at it. We've been on the road for 3 out of the first 4 weeks. We play a top 10 opponent. This was a challenge for us this past week to go on the road, to play a 12:30 game against a very good team that had just had a bye week. And I felt like coming out in the halftime, I was pleased. Obviously not pleased at the fact that we didn't score going in or coming out, but we did some things in that first half that really, really made me feel good about this football team. Overall, we did some good things. We got a lot of things to correct, but where we are at 2-2 right now is probably about where, if anybody that knows football and knows this program, probably where this program should be about now.
Let me turn my mic on. One positive to come out of that is the penalty situation seemed to be at bay. Can you address that for us?
Well, we had 6 for, I want to say, 53 yards or something in that neighborhood. I had 1 of them. I've never been called for a sideline interference without giving a warning first. I guess I have to talk to our director of officials on. I was told you're supposed to get a warning first. I was not given a warning, so one of those is on me.
Coach, you've coached in 4 games as a head coach at the FCS level. Most of your career has been obviously at the FBS and the 7 years in the NFL. So now you've got a look behind you perspective of coaching at this division. What is that new perspective for you after the first 4 games?
Well, I've always thought that this was a very good conference. Even looking from afar, I don't know about every team in this conference. I'm learning about all the teams in this conference. But I knew Villanova was a very tough team. I know their history. I know what Coach Talley's done over years. You know about good football coaches and good programs. I think this conference is obviously one of the elite conferences at the FCS level. And I think that's because of the coaching in this conference. I think they're very good coaches in this conference. They do a very good job of developing teams, growing teams, providing stability and a foundation for programs. And that's our goal here. Our goal is to build a program that's, isn't a roller coaster every year, that it's got some consistency. And that some of the models that you see across this league, I take notice of.
One of the things, now you've been on the road 3 times, but one of them was at Maryland. Of course, when you're in the FBS, the facilities are pretty good almost everywhere you go.
Yeah.
You're preparing, though, your team, as you said, going into Villanova, regardless. I mean, you're trying to prepare them from every perspective, yes, even if it's a matter of being out of making sure that you're not sweltering in a hot locker room. I mean, you're going to run into those situations at this level.
Yeah, you are. It's been unique to be at Lehigh and then to be at Villanova and be in some of the visiting locker rooms, and it's an adventure now. I mean, it really is. I take a lot of pride, and I hope our administration takes a lot of pride in our facilities, because I think after being at Lehigh and at Villanova, I have a lot of respect for what we have facility-wise, as opposed to some of the stuff that we've been in 2 weeks on the road.
Yeah, and you've got more coming.
Yes.
I can attest to that, no doubt. More questions from the
Coach,
folks here?
Jonathan Klusterman is from my Papers area. Can you talk a little about his progression?
Say that one more time.
Jonathan Klusterman, he's from Papers area.
Yeah.
Talk a little about him and his progression as a freshman.
He's still growing each week, getting better at the tight end position. Hopefully he's a guy that can help us, in the future, this year and beyond. He's got some size. He's a hard worker. He's a kid that, tries to do everything like he's coached. He's being coached really, really hard by Coach Bowers, and I think he's, obviously he stepped up. We've used him in ball games on special teams and at tight end some. So hopefully his growth and his maturation continues.
Just going back to the balance you're trying to strike between being coach and actually coaching on the field, has that been a process for you, and can you go a little more in depth on how you've tried to strike that balance like that?
Well, as soon as I can get out of this press conference, I'm going to go back and meet with the defense, and we're going to try to start working on first and second down. Those guys have already started. It'll be a process, but it's something that I look forward to. I look forward to coaching. I like coaching. I like being a head coach, but I like coaching kids. I like being involved in meetings and organizing meetings. Coaches are nothing but teachers. I think you're judged. I think coaches get judged better, more often than teachers do. I wonder if professors would like being judged like coaches get judged. So, but I enjoy that part of it. I look forward to it. I really take a lot of the blame for not being part of the defensive staff and coaching those 2 positions, because I think I could help. I hope I'm a plus for them.
Yeah. Is it easier to just kind of focus on football at the coordinator when at your previous stops to just be coordinator, be all football, or at least more football?
Yeah, that's what you do. A head coach usually doesn't coach a position at the FBS level. He's usually, unless he Coach Meyer was in meetings. He was in the quarterback meetings. He was in those meetings because he's a quarterback guy. Yeah. I've been places where the head coach, Jeff Fisher, was never in defensive meetings. He was the head coach of the Tennessee Titans when I was there. So there's some coaches that like being in those meetings. There's some coaches that don't, that like to handle all the administrative. I like doing both, and my wife doesn't like me being home, away from home as much as I am, but that's part of the gig. She signed up for it too.
Yeah, compared to your most recent stop at Ohio State where there were defensive issues last year, I guess, how does this compare? Where's the sense of urgency to kind of get this fixed? How does those 2 things compare?
I think this has a little bit of a similar tone to it. We had some youth there at a lot of positions. We had some injuries at some positions. The difference was there was obviously a little bit difference in philosophy at times there than here. Here we're all on the same page about what we want to get done. There was a little bit different. But I think there are some similarities in the injuries and the youth, yes.
Obviously, Urban is an offensive guy, but was there any measure of stepping in and being more involved? Did anybody kind of do anything differently once there were issues?
No, he paid 2 guys an awful lot of money to get it fixed.
Gotcha. In terms of you maybe being a little more involved on defense, does that show your confidence in the offense and the way that's come along and your faith in those guys on that side to get that thing rolling?
My involvement in the defense won't take away from any of my involvement on the offense. I'll still be over there and meeting with those guys and those. So again, it's not going to change what I do over there. I'm just going to cut a little bit of time away from some of the other to-dos that head coaches have to do, involve myself with the defense a little bit more.
You spoke of the process and the journey here. I guess is this kind of, how soon can you get this fixed? How much of a turnaround can happen quickly when you've spoke of this journey?
You sound like a fan.
A fan?
You don't sound like a reporter. You sound like somebody that wants it done now.
Well, you have to want it done soon. I can't imagine it.
I think, again, a journey is a process, and I'm into fitting a culture, building a culture, fitting players in a culture, developing a culture, something that'll last, something that's just not one-hit wonder. For me, that takes time. I'm an impatient guy, but I have to be patient enough to understand that it takes time.
Yeah.
Fans aren't, and I get that.
In terms of you're playing these teams coming off bye weeks, do you almost wish you guys had a bye week to kind of get this stuff sorted out? Would that be nice at this point?
Not necessarily. I like playing games. I like playing a schedule. We'll get our bye week probably about when we'll need it. But I like being able to go back to work on Sundays and get ready for the next opponent.
I think Tally in the postgame said they kind of went after Jimmy a little bit, passing the ball. Did you see those same things? How did his game grade out?
No, I didn't see anything. I think Jimmy's had a turnover in the first 4 games of his career, so
that's pretty good.
I think that's pretty doggone good.
To go over a few of the injuries, I saw Evans Asuji. Did he have surgery? What is the situation?
Evan Asuji's having surgery today. On his knee.
On his knee. Okay. Brandon Ravenel, I know he didn't get back. What kind of pieces are you guys missing with him out, and what can you bring back?
we need Brandon. We need Brandon to get healthy.
And Raven Green, I think you said he was dinged up. What happened to him?
He had a shin injury. We need for him to get healthy also.
Gotcha.
Anything else from anyone? All right, very good. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us here at O'Neill's Grill. We'll be back, of course, next Monday. This coming Saturday, the Dukes are back at home. They're facing their rivals. The Delaware Blue Hens come into town, one of many rivals, of course, but the first time that we'll see Delaware at the expanded Bridge 4 Stadium, so it should be an exciting ball game. 4 o'clock is the kickoff. The Dukes going in with a record of 2-2. Delaware comes into town off a bye week with a record of 2-1. Thank you for joining us this week here at O'Neill's Grill with the JMU Football Fan and Press Luncheon with head coach Everett Withers.